I'm here with head coach Gareth Taylor to preview the UEFA Women's Champions League game tomorrow against Barcelona. We will start with questions from the back. Anton?
Hi Gareth, nice to see you. Look, it's been 3.5 years since Manchester City played a Champions League game proper. Just how does it feel to be finally back?
Yeah, last time out was against Barcelona. Great to be back. I think we are super excited about this, and obviously we've spoken a lot over the last few weeks around the push for qualifying and how difficult that process can be. So we're really proud to have pushed really hard and got all of our preparations right. And obviously in a really busy period at the beginning of the season to face qualifiers is tough, but the team came through really well, and then we go to the draw and pick out a team that's been 5 times out of the last 6 times in the final. So I think it's an amazing opportunity for us. Great to be here tomorrow night at the Joy Stadium with a full house and playing against one of the best. So I think it's a really tough challenge for us, but a really exciting one as well.
Obviously, your job is to prepare the team as a collective, but both these teams are stocked with individual talent. How important is it that the biggest names shine tomorrow?
Yeah, of course. I think it's, the cream always rises to the top, and I don't think you're going to get every single player on both teams having a storming game tomorrow. That's what we'd like, of course. We want to see the best players on the best stage, and I think this is what it is, and ultimately expecting everyone to be actually having amazing performances, and hopefully we get a few more on our side than we do on the opposition. But yeah, for us it's just about controlling what we do. We know we're coming up against a good opponent who's very good in the attacking phase, but also we feel that there's areas on the pitch within their team that we can really exploit.
Look, we can go through their team individually, but obviously tomorrow sees the return of Kira Walsh. We just heard Alex talking about just how good a player she is. Just how is it going to be to come up against her, considering obviously you work with her so closely, and where does she rank in terms of the best players to wear a City shirt?
Oh yeah, certainly up there. Yeah, top player. I think that she's performed supremely well for us, for Barcelona, and also for England. I think that's goes without saying. So yeah, there's a really top player who's went to Barcelona and won obviously really well in that team, both domestically and on the European stage. So yeah, of course, it's one player that is in a team of really good players, and of course we like to think that we in some small ways played a part, allowed her to play on a platform here, try to educate her as much as we possibly could to allow her to go on and become hopefully the player that she feels she can be. But she's certainly still got a lot of life left in her, I think, because she's still relatively young. And yeah, of course, it was an enjoyable period, obviously, coaching her.
Hi Gareth, you touched on Barca's record in this competition a moment ago. Is it fair to call them the best team in the world? And if so, does that take a little bit of the pressure off you?
I would say, yeah, they're the best team in the world. Certainly over this period of last 4 or 5 years. I think before that, you would say it was Lyon. Certainly what they were doing domestically and obviously on the Champions League stage as well. And Barcelona have really dominated in this last 3 or 4 year period. So yeah, of course, I think they are. But I think that in terms of taking the pressure off us, no, not at all. I think it's pressure is so hard to quantify how you feel it or how you let it affect you, because sometimes it can do. There's no doubt about that. But we certainly don't feel like we've got a free hit tomorrow. We feel we've worked tremendously hard to be here. This is our home tie. We'll obviously play them away in December. So we feel it's a really good opportunity for us to see where we are. And if we come up short tomorrow on a one-off game, I'm not too sure I would be too demanding or changing my view on where I think this team can go, because I think Barcelona have shown at any time that they can really take teams apart. They were 1-0 down at the weekend and go and score 8 in the second half, scored 10 previously. So we know they've got the ability to do that. But always when I talk about the opposition, I like to quickly switch it to us and what we're capable of doing. And that's going to be the focus.
This is one off, if not the most glamorous tie of all the group stages, or group stage. How many knocks on the door have you had from players this week when he talked to you about selection?
I think, of course, everyone wants to play in this game. I'm pretty certain of that. It's obviously going to mean more to some than others, particularly our Spanish players. But of course, we have to focus on the game and what we feel is going to be the team that's going to help us to be successful. And the ones that are in obviously have the opportunity. The ones that don't start the game still have an opportunity, but it looks slightly different for them. And although there might be disappointment, we've got such games coming up at the moment that are really demanding in both the WSL and obviously back into the Champions League again. We go to Anfield at the weekend. We go to Austria the week after. So I think it's a really exciting time. To expect the team not to change it's not going to happen. It's going to change a lot. So particularly with how demanding these games are. But we give a good account of ourselves at the weekend. We changed a few little things here and there with personnel, and everybody's making really good bids to be in the team.
Can you give us an update on team news ahead of tomorrow?
Jess Parker come back into the reckoning. I think we probably could have pushed her at the weekend to be available for West Ham, but she's played a lot in pre-season. She's played a lot, obviously, in the absence of Jill. So she comes back into the fold, which is great. And outside of that, we are pretty much as we were before. So probably a little bit stronger than what we were at the weekend.
Bunny fit to start?
Bunny's fine. We could have pushed it and really tried to start her at the weekend, but she didn't just have the training minutes under her belt, so we just made a decision on that one. But I felt she made a really good contribution when she entered the pitch.
Thank you.
Hi, Gareth. From that game against Barcelona 3.5 years ago until now, how could you not only build the confidence but the patience to be back where you are now?
That feels like a long time ago, if I'm honest. Obviously, we were in the back end of lockdown in that period, so we went and played in Monza as their home game. And of course, the team for both sides has changed a lot. There's still some consistency within that. Obviously, Alex played in that game, and not too many others. But yeah, for me, that game was really interesting. The first game, we lost the game 3-0. I think a fair result would have been 6-4 to Barcelona. I think Ellie Roebuck was far too busy, but we missed a penalty and we had numerous opportunities to score, which we didn't. We came back here. We set off like a house on fire, I felt, in that game. Quickly went into a 2-0 lead, and we was at that really vital moment where we could have really took the game to them and turned the tie round and completely turned it on its head. And Oshuala scored, and we just came up short. But we gave a really good count of ourselves. I think there were not many teams that beat Barcelona that season, certainly on their way to the title. But for me, it just showed that we are capable. Of course, it's really hard to quantify that team and this team we have now. But I feel we go into this game without the last 3.5 years, like you say, of experience of being in the Champions League. They do. They've been successful. But I expect the game to be tight tomorrow. I do. I mean, of course, they can open up at any point and hit you for goals left, right and centre. And so can we. So it'd be really interesting. I'm excited about the game because I think it's a good indication of where we're at and the journey that we're on. We want to achieve what they've done. We want to achieve 5, to be in the final 5 times in the last 6 years is incredible. And that's what we want.
You come from being the best defence in the league, and now you've only conceded twice. Does winning this match start from defending well?
Of course. Yeah, of course it does. It's always a solid foundation to start on, and we've been really aggressive this season in our pressing. I think people who have watched us maybe in the first few games of the season have seen that there's some slight changes to what we were probably last season. More on the front foot, especially without the ball. So yeah, I find that really exciting. And of course, sometimes the best form of defence is attack. But of course, when you're playing against these teams, we have to understand that at times they're going to have possession of the ball, probably maybe more than what we want. But I think certainly when we have the moments to go and engage and put them under pressure, that's going to be really important for us.
Charlotte?
Hi, Gareth. You said after Paris that you really worked hard during the summer to make sure the team was ready for that qualification period and beyond. What specifically, on and off the pitch, what specific changes did you want to make?
I think I've spoken about this previously. I felt maybe where we came up short last season, and we were really close. But we did a hell of a lot of really good things. But I felt like without the ball, we could improve, certainly. I think there were some games last season which we were successful in terms of the result, where we probably dropped off more than what we would like to. So we're trying to be more assertive in that, especially without the ball. So that's changed. And that's what we're trying to improve on. And I prefer us when we're that way. I think even against Arsenal at 2-2, early on in the season, I felt that we restricted them from smashing balls into our box, because although our pressing wasn't great, we were still on the front foot and we really limited those type of balls to come in the box. So that was an improvement for me, for sure, in a performance where we weren't quite at our best. But the other one would be probably just personnel at the top end of the pitch. Also, last season, I felt probably when we lost Bunny with 3 games to go, it hit us really hard. When we lost Jill, it hit us really hard. Obviously, Jess really stepped up and filled that space of Jill. But I think the recruitment that we've done in the summer, obviously bringing Viv in, obviously Alba as well, to go alongside Chloe Kelly, Lauren Hemp, Mary Fowler, Bunny Shaw, and all of the other midfielders we have as well. I think it's really exciting. And getting Jill back as well feels like a new player.
You said Barcelona is the best team in the world. I wonder whether and Alex said your playing styles are very similar as well. Did you look at Barcelona and take things from them, from inspiration, whether that was Geraldes or Pere Romeo, who's manager now?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I love what they do. I think everyone will probably know that I really appreciate that. Same with Spain when they won the World Cup. It's almost like gratification for what we do when another team who are very similar in style are successful. I think it's at those moments you feel like football wins. And of course, with all my respects to every other team and what they do, if it's something different and they want to play more direct, absolutely fine. And, full respect to those teams that do that. But of course, we don't try to play beautiful football just to play beautiful football. We try to play it because we feel it's the best way for us to move up to the pitch together as a team, to be really organised and to finish off actions. And that's why we do it. And when you see a team that does it as well as what they have and also have been successful, it just confirms, I'm certain, for Barcelona, everything that they do has worked.
Thanks, Gareth. Enjoy tomorrow.
Thank you.
Phil?
Hi Gareth, I just wondered how Jill is sort of in preparation for this game, having made that start at the weekend, first for a long time obviously, and this game's only a few days later. Would she be potentially ready to start again, or at least have quite a big role in this game?
She'll have a role for sure. What that looks like is really hard for me to predict without giving too much away. So yeah, I think to have her back at the weekend was amazing. I think that she was introduced to the game obviously against Brighton, which was good for her. I felt her performance in the first half was very good at the weekend. I think what we saw was an improved Jill Roord to what we saw last season. And of course, I also mentioned that it's really important that we don't put too much expectancy on her too soon. Obviously, when players have this type of injury, the natural thing for them to come back is to not necessarily struggle, but not necessarily hit the ground running. And I said with Jill that if anyone was likely to come back and really smash it, it would be Jill, because she's that good. But I think that 45 minutes at the weekend proved that we've got an improved version of Jill here, and someone who's certainly going to help the team a lot this season.
There's a certain sort of magnitude to this game for 2 reasons. Obviously, playing the holders, and it's the first game back in the competition proper for so long. Perhaps with some of the younger players in particular, is there any sort of sense of having to mention that, sort of staying on top of the fact that, yeah, it is a big occasion, but, you've got to go out there and do a job? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, we always try to play the game, not the occasion. Of course, there's a lot of build up to this game. It's probably the busiest press conference in a long time. Sold out at the Joy Stadium tomorrow. Of course, everybody wants to see this game, and we're really interested to see where we're at. And our job as staff, and me particularly as head coach, is to make sure that we control the controllables, which is the next action of the game, and not worry too much about what's going on outside.
Great. Cheers.
Thank you, Phil. We'll go to Zoom now. Dan?
Hey Gareth, hope you're well. You've mentioned about Barcelona's attacking threats. Obviously, I think in the last 2 games they've got 18 goals. I think they had 6 different goal scorers in one, 7 different goal scorers in the other game. Does your kind of preparation change at all, planning to take on the European champions compared to a WSL game?
Yeah, of course. I think there'll be slightly different things that we prepare for. Certainly when we look at opposition teams. We did it more recently against Brighton. You know, we knew that Brighton were going to set up in a particular way that was going to try and hurt us in midfield areas, anticipating Barcelona to do the same, and that's why they've been successful against teams. So trying to combat that whilst not going too far away from our principles is important. And of course, we lose a little bit of preparation time. They play Saturday, we played Sunday. So, you know, obviously we go out to prepare for the game tomorrow and come up with the solutions for what we will see when we show the team in the team meeting.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Gareth. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. We'll go to Tom next.
Oh, hi, Gareth. Thanks for your time. I'm just wondering, is there a quality about Barcelona that you admire the most? Like, what do you see as their best sort of characteristic as a team?
I'd have many positives. I think the main one would be people will probably question how many big games they play in their own domestic league, but when you look at over the last few seasons, the minimal points that they've given up tells you that there's a belief and a hunger to be really successful, regardless of the level of game. So you have to pay great credit towards that, because that's difficult, trying to motivate players in particular games. That tells me that there's really good leadership within the team.
And just one more question on your own team, I don't know if that's okay. Like, greatly changed team since you played them 3.5 years ago. I think in the starting 11, the only survivors from that match for you are Alex Greenwood and Chloe Kelly. I mean, just how much stronger do you feel your team is now compared to that quarter-final meeting?
Well, I feel we're stronger. Of course I do. Yeah, of course I do. I think certainly because the more we've had time with the players, I won't want to be disrespectful to that team, because that team we had obviously contained Kira, Sam Ewis, Janine Becky played that game, I remember, Gemma Bonner. So really good players within that. I think that what we have had now is obviously more time, season on season, to be ready and prepared for this. And of course, we've made some adjustments in the summer. We have new players who are still coming in and finding their way. But I think that the game has moved at such an alarming pace since you think of that moment back in 3.5 years ago, where the women's game has gone to really high levels. So I think it's a good place that we're in. We've made a good start to the season. We've achieved the first objective, which is to get into the Champions League group stage, and our objective now is to qualify for the quarterfinals.
Thank you, Gareth. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any more questions from Zoom? No, thank you, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.